Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations Business Edition, Dimensions and Financial Reporting for this Wednesday, December 6, 2017. So, our time today, we'll do some quick introductions. I will show you or point you to some Dynamics 365 resources if you want to learn more than we're showing today. We're going to spend the bulk of our time doing a live demonstration on how dimensions work and how they interact with financial reporting in Dynamics 365. And then we'll save some time at the end for a wrap-up and any questions and answers. So my name is George Delp. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Interdyne Artists. And joining me today is Debbie Overby, and she is one of our implementation consultants. So she's been working with Dynamics 365 as long as it's been out, which has been about a year, but she also has extensive experience working with NAV, which Dynamics 365 is based upon. So if you have questions about Dynamics 365, so to be clear, there's lots of different Dynamics 365 modules. We're looking at the Finance and Operations Business Edition. And as you may or may not know, it is based on Dynamics NAV or Navision. Basically, this is NAV in the cloud. Now, if you want a general overview, check out our YouTube channel or our website. We have general overviews that walk you through the basics. We have more specific videos that will walk through, like the jobs module, for example. And you can find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/Interdyne Artists. I don't know what the C stands for, but this month I'm saying it stands for Christmas. Or you can just go to our website and www.interdyneartist.com. I'll have these addresses up at the end of the presentation as well for you. So with that, here's what we're going to cover for you today. We're going to explain what dimensions are and how you can use them to simplify your reporting and also make your chart of accounts a whole lot less monstrous. That's one of my favorite things about dimensions is instead of having to create a new segment in your chart of accounts and then generate your accounts and then you wind up with millions of accounts, dimensions allow you to keep a nice, clean, simple chart of account, yet still capture the information that you need in a much easier and intuitive manner. So we'll set up some dimensions. Talk is great, but we're actually going to show. So we'll set up some dimensions for customer class as well as geography where customers might be. We'll talk about value posting, and I'll leave Debbie to explain that in more detail in just a little bit. We'll assign some, defaults to some items, customers, and vendors. So it's like, when you enter this transactions, you don't have to go and pick these out all the time. You can have defaults, and then you can change them if you need them. Makes entering transactions really lickety-split smooth. And then we'll enter transactions, of course. We'll talk about how all of this works with budgets, and then we'll dive into reporting. So with all that said, I'm going to see if there are any questions. And I think we're clear, so I am going to turn it over to Debbie.
Thank you, George.
And here you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. And we hope that we can help to enlighten you a little bit more about the tool Dynamics 365 offers that is called dimensions. Dimensions are basically descriptive elements, how you want to be able to have better detail about your customers or vendors or items. And as George spoke about, once you have made that decision about your dimensions, then you assign the dimension code and the dimension value to your items, customers, and vendors. Those default dimensions follow that item or customer or vendor, whether you're creating a sales order, whether you're doing an inventory adjustment, or whether you're creating a PO for a vendor. So the first thing I want to show you is our dimensions, and I have some set up that we can look at. So a dimension code we have set up here: customer, class, group, department, and geographic area. Today, we're really going to talk about customer class and geographic area because these are the ones that I've set up so we could look at these. So within this customer class, I have dimension values. And I've broken it down, so I want to be able to see my customers. Are they a commercial or industrial? Are they a mid-market customer? And you have unlimited dimension values that you can assign to a dimension code. On geographic area, I have set up a few states here so that we can geographically see what commercial customers we have in Florida or what residential customers we have in Georgia. And of course you can have the unlimited cross dimensions between the customer class and the residential area. And as we also spoke about, dimensions are wonderful for being able to help simplify your chart of accounts. Okay, I'm going to go down to my income statement accounts. That's really where I want to utilize dimension to be able to run financial statements with those dimensions.
Hey, Debbie, we had a question pop in.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you can have an unlimited number of values, but we have somebody asking how many different dimensions can you have? There was 4 that we showed in the example here.
You have 8 shortcut dimensions, codes, but you have unlimited number of codes. If you use more than 10 and want to be, 8 and want to be able to combine them, then we would need to use an analysis view to gather that information. But
so it sounds like out of the box using up to 8 is just as the screens are all set to configure, and we can use more with a little bit more setup.
Right, correct.
Okay. That's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, so down here in my income statement account, like George said, we can limit ourselves to what is called our natural account. We don't have to have segments that say, okay, this is this department or this customer class or this geographic area. In fact, I do have some clients that as far as their income statement goes, they have one revenue account and maybe an interest income account. In this demo database, they have broken it down a little bit more, but that's not necessary. If you notice under our cost of goods sold, our account 50,100, we only have one cost of goods sold. I'll be able to break this up into more detail using dimensions when we run financial statements. Okay, I'm going to go into the edit mode on this. I'm just going to go ahead and go to navigate, and I'm going to dimensions. Okay, so when we were talking about dimension value posting, over here we have the value posting. So on this particular GL account, which is a revenue account, I have put in there the dimension code of geographic area. And I made the value posting code mandatory. And just very briefly, you have 3 different value postings. Code mandatory means that, for example, when I create a sales order and I'm getting ready to ship it out and invoice it, I will not be able to post that sales order unless I have a geographic area dimension value entered on that sales order. If I put in same code, that means that if I have a dimension value defined, that when I do a sales order and I have defined Florida and the value posting of same code, that means that my sales order has to be defined as Florida. Otherwise, it will not let me post that one either. And if it's no code, simply what it means, if I have a sales order and I have a geographic area defined, then it will not let me post it because apparently I do not want a geographic code for this account. Okay. Are there any questions related to the chart of accounts and assigning the value posting?
I think we're clear to go.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. So let's go look at a customer. And I have this customer first and main set up. And I can open that up, or I can just right from the list go to my dimensions. So for this customer, first and main, I have defined a customer class of mid-market. I put the value mid-market here, and a geographic area of South Carolina. So these are my default dimensions. They will follow this customer wherever I use him. So let's go create a sales order for this customer. I'm just going to open this other order that I have for first and main. Okay, so here we have our sales order, and the customer is first and main. I'm going to navigate to the dimensions on this order, and as you can see, my mid-market and my geographic area of South Carolina populated onto the sales order without us having to do anything else. And of course, on a sales order, you're going to have lines for your items. So I'm going to go down to the line, and I want to see the dimensions. Okay, so the dimensions that I had defaulted on my customer card of mid-market and South Carolina have also applied to the lines. If I were to go in here and change for this particular order the value of South Carolina, if I were to change it to Georgia, not sure what happened there. But normally a screen would come up, a message that says, you have modified the dimension values. Do you want to update the lines? And if you did for this order, then you would tell it yes. We can also enter dimensions, use dimensions to enter our budgets. And this allows us, again, to be able to do comparative financial statements between my actual and my budget. And you can see that I've entered budgets by each line. So we'll just go look at January. So for the month of January, I have budgeted for my revenue account $2,500 that is split with commercial in Florida, $4,000 with mid-market in Georgia, and $225 with residential in South Carolina. If I drill down on the entire budget, then you'll be able to see month by month what I have budgeted and what combinations I've budgeted here. A lot of people don't utilize the GL budgets within Dynamics 365, but from my experience, it is a very, very nice tool. Just very quickly, once you have created a budget one time with dimensions, you can then add filters, export it to Excel, send it out to business managers, have them change the next year's budget numbers, and then you can import it back in to your new budget. So it really is a nice tool. Okay, so now we're going to look at account schedules. And account schedules are financial reporting within Dynamics Nav that is user-defined. You get to set it up the way you need to see your business. So I've set one up here for monthly expenses. And account schedules are made up of row numbers, kind of like in Excel. You can define the GL accounts you want to see on your financial report. You can also use formulas in here that would allow you to be able to, add totals in there, like I've put in a total for my total expenses here. Now I'm going to go into the overview. And here I will tell it what budget I'd like to pull in, and that's my 2017 budget. I also have a column layout. A column layout defines what you're seeing down here in my overview, which is showing current actual versus budget, what the variance is, and the percent variance. And again, this is on my expenses. So if you notice here, in advertising, I had budgeted $1,600 that was defined against commercial Florida, mid-market Georgia, and residential South Carolina. However, I did not have any actual expenses for advertising in this particular month. I'm going to go in here and put in the whole year. Okay. So you see I did have advertising, but not for the month that I had in the date filter. So now we'll see that my actual net change was based on entries and invoices that were made to the different geographic areas. And again, we can quickly look at the budget, and you can see the entries that were made for advertising and the GL accounts that they were reported against. The other nice thing that we can put right here is, what if I only want to see all of my expenses, actual versus budget, for the geographic area of Georgia? So now you see, and we were kind of concentrating on advertising expense, that my actual and my current budget numbers changed. So let's just take a quick look at that. So I had actual advertising expense, 2 entries for Georgia. Let me close that. The $9,000 and the $8,500. And we had budgeted $12,000, looks like to be $1,000 a month for Georgia. Now I could add another filter for the customer class. So I've added mid-market and Georgia. And you see that I had no advertising expense for the year that matched the criteria of customer class of mid-market and geographic area of Georgia. I did have some budget. I do have some salary expense with those filter criteria. Just quickly, I'll show you the details. Okay. And again, that's what the dimensions are doing for me. It lets me pare down my data to get back to a better picture of how I want to analyze my expenses. Real quickly, I'm going to take you to an income statement. I'm going to remove these. Just to quickly show you that, again, I've used my budget versus my actual. And comparing them, the variance between the actual and the budget. And you can see I have a different combinations, whether it was commercial in Florida or mid-market in South Carolina. And the same thing on our budget numbers. So now, if I come in here and add a customer class, then you see my numbers change rather drastically. And I do like to drill down each time just so everybody can see that the filters are applied, and I don't see anything except residential that I wanted to see. So that was a pretty quick explanation of the value of using the dimensions tool. Very good reporting. We have had clients that had different divisions, and so they could run their income statement by each division, take the filters off, and then they have a corporate income statement. So I hope that you'll be able to figure out how you'd like to see your data sliced and diced within Dynamics 365. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Debbie. And I think you did such a good job that we don't have any more questions. We just had that one from earlier.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and take back over.
Okay.
So you see the wrap-up screen, Debbie?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Microsoft Dynamics 365. It's only sold through Microsoft partners such as us. So on those videos or the YouTube channel I mentioned, our introductory videos go through detailed pricing information as well. But you can contact us for the initial purchase, free trials, we can set you up there. We do training, data conversion, and ongoing support for customers. We also work with the other D365 modules like the CRM, sales, customer service, and whatnot. So if you have any questions at all about anything, reach us on our website, interdyneartist.com, info@interdyneartist.com, or you can give us a call, 704-846-6750, and just hit the number it tells you for sales. We always answer the phone, so we'd be happy to talk to you. I appreciate everybody's time today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope to talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.